Hey guys, I'm here, and I'm gonna start talking about more along the lines of dodging and more related to League of Legends stuff. When it comes down to dodging in League of Legends, you're kind of avoiding any like necessary big issues that are coming up. So, for example, if you're dodging in higher elo, you're avoiding a draft differential, people trolling you, one tricks, and stuff like that that are really preventing you from actually playing the game at a higher elo, higher level, and that's a good thing for people, and because it's the only one way to prevent from being trolled. Unlike Riot, where they will not, they won't actually punish the people that are doing the bad deed, and that's the problem that I have with Riot's curse system and why dodging is very effective. LS will goes more in depth. I mean, LS and Nemesis go more in depth on this a bit more in a more of professional way. But I'm gonna say what I believe and my thoughts are on opinion on dodging. So the one of the problems is that I seen from dodging in terms of low elo. They specifically said like low elo on term dodging. That's not necessary. I would agree to some extent. But not entirely. Now, say for instance, if you have what do you say, like a Braum top, extreme examples, obviously Braum Yumi top, um, Brand jungle, and then you have a what do you call it, like and then you have Rammus mid, and I mean, at that point, the game's lost, right? You're actually just like legitimately trolling at that point. You're griefing your team, and that even in low elo, that's pretty awful. That's terrible. There's no getting around that. That's awful. That's just plain out wrong. And so I would allow it to dodging to that point. Now, if it comes down to like higher elo or more in-depth things, yes, I would agree that draft pop not so much, matchup not so much, certain lanes or whatever not so much. Yeah, that type of nitty-gritty, sure. But when you're coming down to lower elo, you're dealing with either toxic people right off the bat or people legitimately trying to grief you and champ select and stuff like that. Dodging in that aspect is very useful and very nice to have because you want to avoid it. However, I don't. Another thing on why I would disagree on it is the fact is also because I don't think that's such a good example for particularly on low elo. Yes, I agree to LS and Nemesis that it doesn't matter too much in terms of like what goes on or what somebody picked, just because it's low elo. However, I like to make an example to where to make low elo better, even if it doesn't work in terms of like drafting or whatever. I would like to at least try to make it low elo better, make them draft better, or have them at least have better picks rather than having to worry about them specifically or not to dodge at all. I know there's a lot of instances where dodging is needed. Now, if you have in higher elo where we transition to higher elo where all that stuff is there, then yes, that's definitely needed. Dodging is a higher requirement, and I think it needs to be processed in that way to where dodging is 100% needed. And again, this is all something that is Riot's fault in this take, because if Riot actually did something correct for once in their actual league careers and try to do something, then we'd be in a separate right direction. If they actually ban players that are griefing, running it down, getting rid of a draft, then yeah, doing draft problems. Yeah, this is a problem, and it needs to be. And that would be great if they actually fixed it, but they won't do it. They just won't ever do it, and it will remove the integrity of the game, which is another thing why people are talking about the integrity of the game. It's going to ruin it if you keep dodging there or whatever. And like, no, it's not. It's just going to make in my personal opinion, it's going to make the integrity of the game better. because you're avoiding terrible matchups. You're avoiding things that are happening in the game that's completely out of your control. Like a good example is they use 3 AP mid, and you have 3 APs on your enemy team, and and like they have like one tank, it's 1 or 2 tanks, and it's fucking over, right? Like people will just build MR, especially in higher elo, and you can't do anything. It's pointless. So at that point, it's like you're playing a game that is lost and wasting your time for no reason. And the integrity of your game is already mute. There's no integrity of the game if the game's already lost at champ select. I'm sorry. Like there is no pushing through it, and no, it's just over. Especially at high elo, it's just over. You can't play the game, and that's understandable. And me, my gold tier self understands at higher elo that is just not available to do. You can't do it. It's just way worse. So whoever says like the integrity of the game or whatever, and like it's gonna ruin it, like no guys, it's just like no, it's not. That's not gonna do anything. Like keeping dodging is not going to ruin anything. It's going to keep people sane, all right? Like LS and Nemesis said, like, mentally wise, if you remove dodging, it's just going to make more people insane, more people toxic. I mean, even I get toxic, and due to the things where I can't dodge or whatever. If I couldn't dodge and I was heavily penalized for dodging for something that is completely out of my control, I'd be livid. I'd be absolutely pissed. I would not enjoy myself. I would not want to play the game. It's terrible, and it's a horrible place to be in that mental state, because you're automatically going to end up playing worse because you already know the game's going to be potentially lost at that champ select. You have to either deal with this toxic asshole or deal with a guy that's going to purposely punish you, purposely int you or grief you, and it's not fun to be like that at all. Which I'll enter my next segment, which where like people giving up. I know this is happening a lot across at least EU and then NNA, where people are not playing solo queue or whatever because solo queue is terrible or whatnot. And yeah, I can see that. However, in this sense, me as a player, and especially dealing with people in my own right, to where I see people either in normals or ranked, or even some of my friends that I tend to play League with, which I kind of don't want to anymore, is the fact that they give up right away, and it's not fun playing that. When you give up and you're not trying, you're automatically, in my opinion, you're just griefing your team. You're not trying, you're trolling, you're just doing whatever, and you're not helping your team, you're just literally trolling them and ruining the game for everyone involved. Like, if you go up and die, it's like, oh, well, I'm not trying. Then what are you doing playing the game? What's the point? You're in our game, trolling, not giving a fuck, and legit just making everybody else on your team suffer. It's even worse if you're doing it with your friends. Like, it's bad enough if you're doing it with randoms, right? But it's even worse if you're doing it with your friends. Because if you're doing it with your friends, that means you really do not care on how your friends feel or how your friends have to deal with when they have to deal with that fed person, you not trying and just running it down. It's not fun. It's not a great experience. So you just need to stop. So giving up is not okay. It's just the same as trolling. If you don't want to play the game that day, just don't play the game. Don't feel impelled or forced to play the game. But if you're gonna fucking play the game and you like, well, I just gotta get in my one league game of the day, and you just don't care, and then you just run it down and grief your team or your friends, whatever it may be, it's just, you're a toxic person. You should be permanently banned until you fix the way you think, or at the very least, suspended or whatever for a certain period of time until you at the very least do it. And if it becomes a huge thing to where people always do this, then yeah, permanently ban them, because I don't want them in my games. Them being in my game is terrible. It's like the same thing with the Yasuo. He's like, oh well, I don't even want to try FFF 15, and it's just like, and he's also talking shit and stuff like that, like, like, oh, I'm better, Yasuo go burr or whatever, and like, dude, you're an idiot. And then like when he's caught out, when he's not even trying or whatever, he's being toxic towards me. It's like, no, dude, you're not trying. You're not playing the game. You're awful. So players like this do need to be banned. They need to be punished for it because it's not needed. I don't want players like that. I don't want to play with players like that. It's terrible. So, that being said, that should also be addressed. Players doing that should also be there. Like, it's not hard. And right, you need to have a section to where like you have people monitor some of these games and like see where the problem is, because, or at the very least have a tag to where like they're not trying a griefing, and then you review it and then like, oh, okay, well, yeah, they are griefing. So like things like this need to be like implemented to prevent this stuff. And I know Riot's not going to do this because they don't actually care about their fan base. If they actually gave a fuck about their fan base, they wouldn't, for one, want to ban or want to harm people for playing the game. Like, for example, this over here. For example, we have people that would simply want to make it worse for everyone. So, for example, we go to the capture here, and then we'll like I show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here, to where like it's just fucking a diff in general. Like they're punishing players for something that like shouldn't really exist. And that's what's terrible. And here we have it this here, right? So I'm just gonna go over here. This will be very brief. Is that first dodge within 24 hours, 6-minute lockout, and 50 minutes for ARAM, and 3 LP in ranked. I don't know why ARAM is such a big deal. I don't. Okay. Second dodge within 24 hours, 30-minute lockout, and 10 LP in ranked. That's insane. And then third dodge within 24 hours, 12-hour lockout, and negative 10 LP in ranked. This is not gonna help, Riot. I'm sorry. This is not gonna help, because if you're doing something like this and punishing people for dodging for something that's completely out of your control, then that's just fucked up. Like what I said, you're removing freedom. It makes people angry. It makes people more toxic. I don't think this is even a remotely good idea. People are going to stop playing your game if you do this. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. So if they stop playing your game, then this is completely on you. And this is you guys not addressing the main issue at hand and just like putting a ban over and saying like, okay, we're good. And that's not the way things work here. You can't just be like, okay, well, we're gonna go back, we're gonna be fine, and then we're gonna put a band-aid over it, and this is how it goes. No, guys, fix the actual problem, punish people for doing things that you know that should be punished, and then you're good. But if you're not going to do that, then don't do anything at all. Like, it's pointless. So at the end of the day, yes, dodging is good. It helps people keep sane. It prevents you from being griefed. It honestly makes the integrity better, in my personal opinion. Like, come on, guys. And there's no really negative sides, because it's to counter Riot's fucking bullshit for not doing anything. So at the very least, take this in stride. And low elo people, kind of do what I kind of said. Dodge here and there. Like, I know how it is. It's cancer. It's cancer. But anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you guys see hope you guys see you guys in the next video. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.